That's enough puree for any day. So now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our recipe for pumpkin. It was already sitting there. Alright, so we'll need a clear plastic bowl with measurements on the side that I never use, but it makes me look like I know what I'm doing. Now we're going to need a cup of sugar, which I happen to have a nice little tub. Tubs are great, by the way. If anybody's too cheap to buy them, believe me, it's just outstanding. It keeps your stuff fresh, keeps the ants out of it, you know, just keeps hassle to a minimum, which, you know, this life's too short for hassles, in my opinion. So anytime you can minimize them, you're just one step ahead of your neighbors. That's a teaspoon, and that was a cup of sugar, by the way. This will be a teaspoon and a half of cinnamon. And again, like most things I cook, there's no points for exact. There's actually points for not being exact, because then it's your recipe and your own design. So none of them come out exactly the same. For the most part, they taste the same, but you add your own little panache to it when nothing comes out exactly the way it did before. Okay, so next we need a teaspoon of cloves, allspice, and ginger. A teaspoon of each. Ginger, cloves, allspice. Now this is the majority of what you're going to find in a pumpkin pie. Is spice. Spice, pumpkin, sugar. That's about it. I've often referred to it as a spice pie because it really ain't a heck of a lot more to it than that. A whole teaspoon? It just seems like a lot. Granted, I only make this once a year, maybe twice, and always in November, so maybe I'm just a little out of sorts trying to make this so early in the year. These spices, by the way, when you first buy them, you're going to say to yourself, oh, good grief, this is expensive. And they are. Spices are very expensive, especially the whole spices, like if you actually buy like the seed and have to grind it yourself, which is the best way, but you have to use less doing it that way because there's a lot more flavor because it's fresh. But, you know, it's a worthy investment because, I mean, one jar of spice would last me about 2.5 to 3 years. They really don't go bad, at least not that I ever saw. They don't lose their punch as long as you keep them pretty tightly sealed. Okay, next contestant is going to be, oh man, that was way too much ginger. Oh, dang it. Well, as Bob Ross once said, there are no mistakes, there's just happy accidents. That's supposed to be a half teaspoon of ginger. Allspice is so strong, no one will ever know the difference. You just won't have the farts for a couple of days. Okay, so we're going to go with a half a teaspoon of salt. My fancy schmancy Kirkland sea salt even. Stick that up your ear, Morton. Alright, so at this point, as with anything I do, the dry ingredients, once you got them all together, you do yourself nothing but favors if you integrate it now. You try to do this when you got liquid in there, and it's a bigger pain in the ass than it has to be. Trying to get, you know, the stuff evenly distributed, and I gotta get rid of that chunk of pumpkin on the ground. It's just not gonna work. Yeah. It's like stepping on snot. Okay. So that's that. Next up, we can take out half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Again, Kirkland's signature. Not that it's any better, it's just you can get about a mountain of this stuff for about $9. It's actually a good deal because in the store you buy the little eyedropper full of it, and costs you halfway to a fortune. So, in any event, good deal. Buy this at Kirkland if you can. Or Price Club, whatever do they call it these days? The pumpkin seeds were ruined. Just have you know that. That did not work out well. Okay, 4 eggs. Again, this is not a real cooking show. If it were, I'd have 9 assistants and everything laid out on the counter. But being the stickler for freshness that I am, I refuse to leave eggs out on the counter for any longer than they absolutely have to sit there before I use them. Which is usually, in my book, only about 14 seconds. I remember my anatomy class or biology class as well. Bacteria begins to grow immediately as soon as conditions are warm enough. So the less time your shit spends on the counter getting warm, the less chance you've got shit growing in your food that you don't want. Okay. We grab our 1.5 cups of heavy whipping cream. There are 2 schools of thought. Some people are condensed milk fans. I think that's the better, not condensed. It's either condensed or evaporated, one of the two. Canned milk of some sort. I don't like canned anything. I think canned is code for pussy. So I'm going to grab my widgemabob. That term will be on the test. So 1.5 cups of that stuff there. And heavy cream tends to make this a little less sweet than your average pie, which is good because it brings out more of the pumpkin flavor. And I've even been told it can add like a raisiny type flavor to it, as I had my uncle tell me one time. If that's really true, I don't know. But he seemed to like it, and he's a pumpkin pie aficionado, self-proclaimed. So now we're going to go with our 3 cups of pureed pumpkin. Now, bastard. What was I going to say? Okay, so, there we go. Ooh, we had a little leak there. Careful. This, when you're all done with it, tends to be one of the liquidiest pies I've ever seen. Not to worry, it's supposed to be like that. It will get solid after you've cooked it in the oven for a little while. But long and the short of it is, the easiest way to put this in the oven so you don't wind up wearing it is to lay your pie dish on the oven rack while the oven rack is pulled out, of course, and pour this stuff into your pie dishes while it's on there, and then slide the oven rack in, and then you don't have any problems with nothing falling down on you and making a mess of your kitchen floor and just making you mad all over. Oh, see? Representing again, more KitchenAid whisk. Before I bought this whisk, I had gone through about one every 2 months of the cheesy little Top Chef or whatever they are they sell at the grocery store. And you know, when you break your 3rd whisk in the middle of trying to do a project like this, you just tend to be fed up and you can't take it anymore. I certainly couldn't, and I said, that's it. Going over to the chef store, whose name I can no longer remember, and the store is no longer there, unfortunately. But you go down, you buy a real whisk, and then you have it for 4 years, and everybody loves you. Especially KitchenAid, who's just loving me now for bucking their stock. They should give me a promotion for this, or kickback money, you know. 500,000, fair. That's about right for this video. Okay, that's all mixed up. It's all about the same consistency. Almost like pumpkin milk, eggnog. So now, try not to laugh too hard. But I had to use this as my pie dish. and this one too, because my other pie dish is on my desk at work, and well, it's not doing me a hell of a lot of good there, I'll tell you that much. So these get baked for the first 15 minutes. When I bake it at 425 degrees. And I'm only going from assumption here, but those are usually pretty good. You do that because you want to set the pie and then slow cook it the rest of the way through to solidify the rest of it. If that's not true, it sure as heck sounded good in my head. Anybody see what that? Oh, spice jumped off the counter. Poltergeist in my kitchen. Okay. That guy. That guy. I'll pour these into there. I'm going to fill the pie dish up quite a bit because I've got the room. There, guys, just going to be one strange looking pie. However, there is no law against not using pie pans to make pies. You can make them in a variety of different things. I lovingly call them Charlie Brown pies. And one thing I learned, because I'm not really a presentation guy, never have been, never will be, would shut somebody up really fast when they look at your pie and say, this is ugly, is when they go, no, oh, no, it's delicious. So, you know, cook good enough, fuck how it looks, man. If it tastes great, leave it. You get nothing but compliments after they taste it. Hey, okay, I'm going to move on to another video now. This is going to be pumpkin bread, but if all you wanted was pumpkin pie, this is the end of it. And off you go.